So we live together.
Yep.
We watch football together.
Yep.
We talk about football together.
Yep.
Why don't we just start a podcast?
Sounds like a plan to me.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Eye Test. It's your boy Lyés and my good friend CultureCams. And it's officially halftime of the Champions League semifinals of both first legs. We've got a lot of talking points. I figure, though, we start off in the game that we just got finished last night, because the goal is this is going to go out on a Thursday. We're going to have instant reaction. We just got finished watching it. And to be fair, me and you really haven't spoken too much about the games. Obviously, I was on a different platform talking about it. You were watching it here. This is the first time we're really breaking down these games and some of the biggest talking points that had the internet in a frenzy. Let's start in Germany. Well, they're both in Germany, but let's start at the yellow side of Germany, Dortmund. Yeah. Obviously, Dortmund take a 1-0 advantage into the next leg away to Paris. And I have to say, man, Borussia Dortmund deserves so much credit, bro, because every single tie, every single game that they've played in this competition, they keep getting ruled out. They keep getting kind of like looked down upon. Oh, it's just Dortmund. Oh, it's going to end eventually. You kind of hinted at it last episode. Secretly, they're playing the best football in this entire competition.
I think so. I think so. And again, another demonstration of that. In terms of, look, people might say, you know, Real Madrid had to go through Man City, and City were playing good football up until then, or even in the game and stuff. And Bayern Munich have had to go through Arsenal. But it's not even really about that. It's about the way the team's playing. It's about the performance. You know what I mean? It's about the excitement behind it. Every game I've watched of Dortmund so far has been exciting. Yeah. Now, whether people could say they can see chances too, maybe so. But at the same time, it's exciting. It's fun to watch. You know what I mean? You got Adeyemi running down the wing. You got Sancho. We'll talk about him doing his thing in
Julian
this game.
Brandt is pulling the strings for them.
You know what I mean? The guy that's always used as an example into Klopp's almost signing.
Hey, Klopp, what was you cooking?
So honestly, when I look at the Dortmund team, look, a lot of people are going to say if Dortmund get to the final, I was seeing people say, "What, Dortmund get into the final? Oh, that's dead for the Champions League." But I get it by name brand, but by performance, they deserve it. You got to remember, this Dortmund team were in the called group of death with Newcastle, with PSG and AC Milan, and they topped that group, which they were favourites to finish last of that group. So we can't now turn around and start dissing them. I think Dortmund are the best team in the tournament at this present moment in terms of performance.
Yeah, look, I have to, in terms of exciting, like it's difficult to say like performances, because there's different ways to skin a cat, right? Like one man entertaining, for the next man it's like, oh, it's too risky or whatever. But for me, in terms of the kind of football that I personally enjoy watching, this Dortmund team has been like a breath of fresh air, and they kind of almost treat the fact that they are underdogs and that, bro, they're fifth in the Bundesliga. Like, this is kind of like a shock to them. This is like, they're just riding a high, it feels like, at the moment. And it shows in their performances because they don't play with any fear. Some of the teams we're still seeing in this competition, they still play like within themselves. Like, we'll talk about Bayern in a bit. Bayern have been good in this Champions League, but you can almost feel like they know that, one slip in this tournament and they get knocked out, Bayern fans will be on their neck. It's a trophyless season for them. If Dortmund lose to PSG in the next leg, their fans are still going to applaud them off the pitch. We're still going to be saying, wow, Dortmund were like the everybody's favorite, second favorite team in this competition. They're kind of just playing freely. And it definitely mirrors in this tournament, and this game in particular. Mats Hummels as well too. I mean, he was officially named the man of the match by UEFA, and
I love Mats Hummels.
He just keeps rolling back the years, man. Honestly,
I don't understand how he went to Bayern and then ended up back at Dortmund
very early as well too.
Yeah, I don't get that one. That one confuses me so much. That's one of the most random situations.
If any Bayern fans can explain that one to us, like, I'd love to know what was what went behind.
Because but I think he's so good. Like, okay, he's not his prime right now. Of course. But Prime Hummels, I was a big fan of. And even still to this day, whether he's old or not, you see the quality he oozes on the ball as well. He's still commanding. He had a good game against Mbappe. And it's just the way, as I said, the way he brings out the ball from the back, his outside the foot pass.
I was just about to say that. It's amazing.
Bro, he's actually made that his thing. Everyone talks about the Travellas and stuff. Like, bro, we don't mention Mats Hummels. He does it more than all of them.
Yeah, it's facts.
He literally, that's his go-to pass. Do you know what I mean? Just because he doesn't end up as an assist, but it's
incredible to watch.
His go-to pass. I think, honestly, there's a few players, right, that around the game that sometimes you look at them and just thought, oh, I wish they were your team's player, or like they feel like your. So, for example, like, you look at, let's say, a Di Maria, right? When he came to Man United, he just felt like a Man United player at Man United. I feel like Mats Hummels is a Man United centre half.
I mean, he was linked to us quite heavily. Under Van Gaal, he was linked to us super heavily.
That would have been a great signing, man.
Bayern, yeah. So look, there's just so many good. I mean, Fulkrug as well too, right? This guy, Fulkrug is 30 years old, and this is really his first big chance at a big club. I know he played for Germany in the World Cup. After I can't remember where he was at last year.
A decent record for Germany. He's got but I heard his record yesterday.
But my point is, he's kind of like a late bloomer. Like he's kind of just burst onto the scene at 30 years old, and we get these stories sometimes of like players who just. Like we always talk about, these young players or whatever, and they end up having great careers. But every so often we get hit with a spanner in the works of a player who all his career has kind of been slept on. He never really got a chance at a big club, always kind of in those middling clubs. And the minute he finally gets to a big club, I remember Demba Ba when he came to Chelsea. Like, where has this guy been all his career, bro? So yeah, big up the Fulkrug as well too. Even though I'd love to hear your thought on this because I was arguing with the panel yesterday. I feel like Donnarumma should have done better for that goal.
I think so too.
People are saying it's a great finish, no doubt. Like near post, on the ground, it's tough.
Yeah.
But I feel like
it went underneath him.
Yeah.
It went underneath him. So if it was like you see Leroy Sané's goal, a lot of people are talking about the keeper there. I think that was a bullet.
Yeah.
But this one went underneath the keeper. So I would say I think Donnarumma should have probably saved that, but he kind of made up for it. That save that he made off.
Yeah, of course.
Did you see that save?
Yeah.
Who's? I don't
know. It was Sabitzer.
What a save!
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, look, Donnarumma has question marks about him.
Yeah,
all the
always,
time,
always.
Yeah,
well, let's stop avoiding the elephant in the the elephant in the room or whatever.
Yeah.
Let's stop trying to avoid Fulkrug, nice player, almost.
Look at him back.
Jadon, Malik, Sancho.
It was a good performance.
I think that was better than good. That is one of the best performances without a goal or an assist I can remember at this kind of stage. In terms of just the player getting on the ball and every single time he got on it, looking to drive forward, looking to take on his man, even created a brilliant chance for Julian Brandt. For me, as a purist, if you want to call it that, these are the kinds of performances I absolutely love. And I think you just kind of have to look at the way the rest of the footballing world reacted to that kind of performance to kind of see that, like, yo, this was a big moment last night.
Yeah.
Because Jadon Sancho has had a really, really tough last 3 seasons. His name has kind of been in the mud. His reputation has been tarnished. His stock has never been lower than it currently is after these 3 years. But last night was like one of those reminders that I think every sports fans like to see. I remember when Derrick Rose dropped 50 for the Timberwolves, and like it was like, wow, he's back. This was a moment of like, hey guys, I'm still capable of this kind of performance. And for a player of that kind of talent and still of that age, he's still a young player. I think it was a moment that most sports fans could have looked at and been like, yeah, that was good to see, man. Like, we want to see players like this playing at that level.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the reaction, I think he performed well. It was a very good performance, you know, and those are what we expect from Musialas, from Fodens and Judes and stuff, which they didn't do themselves.
I was saying yesterday to my guys, if we had never seen Jadon Sancho at United these last 3 years, and let's say this is the first time we watched Jadon Sancho putting on that kind of performance, we would be saying that's a 70 million, 80 million pound player. That's how good it was.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, the issue with Sancho has never been about his talent. You know what I mean? I've always thought he's a very talented player. That's never really been his issue. We've seen him at Dortmund before. In fact, we've seen him have a good game against PSG before for Dortmund. So this isn't something that we haven't seen before for Jadon Sancho. And I would say, though, online, I think there was a bit of overreaction. I think, personally, Man United equals clicks. And that's how I see it. You know, Man United equals traffic. And some of the talk, listening to the commentary during the game, I think it was very much kind of you see United, this is what you're missing. But you guys weren't saying that when he was at Man United. You know what I mean? These fans weren't saying that. These media weren't saying that. In fact, you guys were saying he's shameful, he should apologize and stuff. So the U-turn, I think, was very much pushed the fact that he's a Man United loanee. Personally, the reaction of it.
Course,
you get where I'm coming from.
Course.
But I do think overall, I'm happy for him because I'm not somebody that hate watches Jadon Sancho. And that's what I don't like that, especially our fan base are doing. They hate watching him. They're hoping he fails at Dortmund, which I don't understand why. You know what I mean? Let him go and do his thing. Let him go and play his football. At the end of the day, firstly, he's still a loanee. He hasn't even been sold.
He belongs to
so
the
you're
club.
basically wishing our player fails, which is kind of crazy to me. Do you know what I mean? So I'm very happy that he was able to put that performance. But at the end of the day, you don't want to see talents get wasted.
Never.
And you want to see players playing with a smile on their face in it. So I'm actually happy in that regard that he was able to give at least a small little remember me kind of moment. But there's more that I'll take away from it, which we'll touch on. But what's your Thoughts on that?
I hear you, to be fair, right? Like the reaction on social media was very mixed yesterday. Obviously, everyone but United fans, to be honest with you, from what I saw, were really like, oh, look at this guy. This is the guy that United fans have been kind of like mocking. This is the guy who couldn't get in over Anthony. And look what a new environment can do to a player. Like, this just sums up the problems of Man United. I saw a lot of that. But then a lot of the flip side was, like you said, coming from Man United fans who were almost bitter. Like, they were actually almost upset that Sancho had a good performance away from Man United. And it's like, oh, you guys didn't see him the last 3 years. Or like, oh, this is his first good performance of the season. And that for me was... I didn't like that, to be honest with you, because I'm kind of like you. Me, I'm not even a big Jadon Sancho fan. For the last 3 years, I've been saying, look, talent has never been his issue, but the application is.
Yeah.
In fact, for me, he's still inconsistent. He is a bit flaky. Like, he's not, for me, a player of the likes of Vinicius and stuff like that. But I've always said, like you just kind of pointed out, talent isn't the issue here. Jadon Sancho is clearly a talented player that in the right environment, under the right kind of system and structure, you can get a good player out of him. We saw it at Dortmund. Let's not forget, the guy was putting up crazy numbers for a player of that age. But it just seemed for me that the reaction from United fans, it was almost more so like, let's try and just downplay everything he's doing because he never did it at United, rather than what, in my opinion, they should be doing. And that's asking, why couldn't he do that at Man United?
At the same time, I feel like, again, this is what we were talking about. We saw two different sides as well.
Yeah.
Listen, it comes down to people always want to take sides. Ten Hag in, Ten Hag out, whatever. So people that are Ten Hag in are going to be saying Sancho is rubbish anyway. Oh, he's up in his fee. Woo, let's get 40 million for him, whatever. And then you get the Ten Hag out, who everyone is now basically saying, oh, yeah, this is Jadon Sancho. This is Jadon Sancho. It's because of Ten Hag. Bring him back, bring him back, bring him back. That's what you're basically getting. So you're getting two sides of it. And when I'm looking at it, right, I'm like, I'm not trying to not be reactionary about it. My issue with Sancho before he even joined the club was his physicality. Is he physical enough to handle this league? Because I haven't seen many wingers of his profile be successful in this modern day Prem, right? So I'm like, is he got the physicality to do it? And so far, no. Champions League is not Premier League intensity. So me seeing Jadon Sancho do this in the Champions League isn't actually telling me anything about what he can do in the Premier League. And I'm not saying that's because the Premier League's at a higher level. It's just a different way of playing. You need to sign players that are suited to that league. So when I'm seeing the physicality, the explosion, the technically has never been a question. It's about and people are going to say, well, you got to build the right team around him, which I fully understand. But the thing about it is, do you build a team around Jadon Sancho? Is he at that level where you build your team and your system built around him? I don't think he's at that level. I think he's a very good talent, but I wouldn't build my whole team around him. You don't even build your whole team around Phil Foden. Do you know what I mean? You don't. They've got other players there. So that's my kind of concern. But the thing that I took away from all of this the most is that United fans are flaky. United fans are flaky. Like, as I said, the people that were bashing him and saying that he's this, he's that, are now saying, hold on, I got a new perspective. These are the same people that are hounding out Marcus Rashford at the moment. I said it yesterday. I said it as soon as I saw it. I said, this fan base are not prepared to see Marcus Rashford leave the club. After seeing that reaction for what Jadon Sancho did, performance-wise, Rashford hasn't put a performance like that in a long time. But let Rashford go score 2, 3, 4 goals at another club, they're going to start saying, oh my God, did we lose a gem? Did we lose a gem? Because people have convinced themselves that these guys are rubbish football players. They're crap. It's not the case, is it? Do you know what I mean? Because this the same things that you lot were saying about Jadon Sancho. You've now seen him in a Champions League semi-final and you're wishing for him to come back. But now you think you're comfortable to hound out somebody who scored over 100 goals for Manchester United. Sancho did nothing for Man United. There's somebody that scored over 100 goals at the club. You guys want him out, and you think you guys are prepared for that, to see him score goals at another club. You ain't. Yeah. You ain't. And that's why that was the funniest thing for me when I saw this whole discussion. Man United fans are not ready to see certain players leave the club. Because the way they're begging for Sancho back, who's done nothing for the club, again, as I always say, are you not sure you really want this overhaul that you talk about? You don't. You don't want it. You don't want it. Yeah. That's how I see it, man.
I can't lie, though. I hear you, but this is kind of like the beauty of Twitter as well, too. Your timeline might have just been way crazy to mine. Because, bro, I'll stand by it. The fact that so many United fans... I just feel like yesterday almost gave me a new perspective about Man United. Because again, I'm not even a huge Jadon Sancho fan. Before you even signed him, he wasn't even like my number one priority. Everyone was talking about, if we have Rashford on the left and like we have the alternate profile on the right, we're going to have a balance. And if we want to go slow and technical, we can go on the right. If we want to go, I was like, that's not how football works. But I can still appreciate talent and stuff like that. And yesterday, watching Sancho perform the way he did, because let's get it right. Jadon Sancho has never performed like that at Man United.
Of course.
I've not seen one performance, even 1/10 of that performance. But it actually gave me a new perspective because, you know me, I'm very harsh on these players. But it made me think, like, I don't even rate Sancho that high. And I've seen what he can do away from Man United with the right kind of environment and the right structure. What about players that I do rate a little higher at United? And I do still slander? Hey, bro, like this is kind of a situation where you need to just kind of look in the mirror and say, maybe it's me. Maybe it's what did LeBron say? Hey, maybe it's me, bro. 100%.
I always say that though. The environment is important. I spoke about it on FCM about Rashford the other day. I said everyone has to take responsibility. The Jadon Sancho situation is not just a Jadon Sancho situation. Everyone has to take responsibility.
But don't you think that United fans aren't willing to take that responsibility? Like I saw a lot of them, not even to make this a whole United subject, right? Because this is obviously about the Champions League. We've been long out of that. We're not going to be in it next season. I get that. But again, I see so many United fans saying, oh, this would be good for the transfer fee, or if you can't do it at United, I don't really care.
I hear that.
I look at it like the Xhaka situation at Arsenal. I watched this guy at Arsenal be lambasted. Like he was basically ostracized at Arsenal. And to be honest with you, what he did was more disrespectful to the club than what Sancho did in terms of throwing the armband on the floor, basically like flipping off the fans. Arsenal fans were done with this guy. And he did it under Wenger. He did it under Emery. And suddenly a new manager came in, made him feel special, made him gave him a specific role, and all of a sudden we saw a different Granit Xhaka, and you saw the way fans did a complete 180 on him, bro. He became the most loved player at Arsenal. So my whole thing is like I see a lot of United fans saying, "Oh, Sancho could perform like this all he wants. He could." I was seeing fans say, "Oh, he could win the Champions League and the World Cup." I still wouldn't take him at Man United. I just feel like, bro, this is too much. You have too much pride in a failing institution. It's not like United are a successful institution that just effed up with Sancho. We're a failing institution that has failed better players than Sancho. Let's not forget Pogba. Let's not forget about Di Maria. I just feel like at some point the penny has to drop with the fact that it might just be us, bro. It might just be us.
Manchester United have a massive part to play in these things, and this is what I'm saying. Man United, you can't run away from that. You have to look at the club. You have to, and this is why new owners and this type of stuff are part of hopefully changing this kind of culture. The problem Sancho has now is he's part of the Ed Woodward regime. Yeah,
it's true.
300, whatever. I don't want to talk about his back. I'm talking about in footballing terms. I'm happy for the young guy to go and get the money and do whatever he wants to do with his life. But in footballing terms, his money does not make sense for Manchester United.
Oh yeah,
that is his biggest issue. That is the biggest issue with bringing him back. If you bring him back, are you going to have, after he just experienced starting week in, week out, potentially going to a Champions League final, coming back to work for my position for a Europa League team on that much of money?
Nah, no chance.
That's not making
sense. I hear
sense.
you. And that's not me saying
That's
like we need to bring Sancho back. That's not my point at all. Like I said, I have my own criticisms of Jadon Sancho. But I just feel like yesterday should have been a huge wake-up call to a lot of United fans that often take the club sides. Because I get it, we're tribalistic. United fans, for me, football fans in general, they're tribalistic. They don't want to admit that it's their club kind of doing the wrongdoing. But I just feel like yesterday was another prime example. And we've seen it when Pogba won the World Cup. We saw it when Di Maria went to PSG and did work. We've seen it so many times. Lukaku went to Inter and he became the best striker in Serie A. Well, this club is not perfect. And look, bro, we have ruined the development and the prospects and the talent of better players than Jadon Sancho.
Let's talk about PSG though.
I was going to say, we talked about Dortmund, brilliant team. And honestly, look, I think people have looked at this Champions League and both sides of the bracket and kind of gone with the two big names and the two big players and thought, okay, this final is almost set in stone. It's going to be Madrid versus PSG. And then maybe Mbappe can do something in the final. If not, it's going to be another Real Madrid. But I think the beauty of the Champions League and the reason I was so happy City went out, not only because obviously I'm a United fan, but I just really like competition. And I feel like City, like they almost make it so uncompetitive because of how good they are. Anyone can win this Champions League, bro. Especially on this right-hand side. Because PSG are not that good, bro. I'm sorry. And I like me, that's if I could pick a team out of the four to win, I would like to see PSG win the most. So this isn't coming from a place of hatred. It's not coming from a place of agenda. I promise you guys this. I'm a big Mbappe fan. I'm a big Dembele fan. Like, obviously, some of my favorite players from the past aren't there anymore, but I would like to see PSG win more than any of the four teams. But if this PSG team wins the Champions League this year, and I've been saying this isn't just reactionary from last night. I've been saying this. If you remember, I said it in the group stage. If this PSG team wins the Champions League, it's a massive disservice to the teams that came before them that failed to win it.
They get the job done.
I don't care, man.
The other teams should look at themselves
I don't
closely.
I'll tell you why they shouldn't look at themselves closely. I think this PSG team has benefited massively from the run of games that they've had. This PSG team, bro, if they played that Barca team of the MSN era or even the Messi Villa Pedro, they would have lost that game.
If they played, if they get sent off,
forget about it. They would have lost to this Barca team. If they lost to the Ronaldo BBC team of 2017, 18, or 2016, they would have lost to that team as well too, bro. If they played Bayern Munich in 2019-20, they would have lost to that team.
But their level was higher too, though.
Fairs.
That's what you gotta say. Their level was higher.
I get that. But even the teams they're playing now, the Dortmund team is not as good as those teams either, bro.
Yeah.
Like this PSG team for me has massively benefited from the run that they've been given. Real Sociedad, they came second in their group, and they were gifted Real Sociedad as basically, you get to play the first in this group. It's gonna be Real Sociedad. Easy work. They played Barcelona, and let's not get it twisted. I give credit to PSG for how they managed the game after going up 11v10. But if that was 11v11, Barca were all over them, bro. They lost the first leg, and they've won, I believe, 2 away games all tournament, bro. Every single time they go away from the back of the plans, it's a disaster. So I just think, man, like even bro, like I look at the individual players. The individual players on those teams are better. Even Mbappe on those teams is better than the way he's playing right now. Like all of these people saying, Dortmund, there's no way they win in France. I'm not so sure about that, guys. I'm really not so sure about that. This PSG team might be bigger in name. It might be bigger in star players. But are they actually better than this Dortmund team? I'm not too sure about that.
I mean, when I was looking at it, I've never been a fan of PSG, and I'm not a fan of this team either. The only thing that's really got going for it is like the Mbappe kind of story.
It's a story, though. It's a story.
Yeah, exactly. And even his performances in the Champions League haven't been great. And a lot of the time he's been playing 9. So I was even looking at it like this is potentially going to be his position that he might play next season for Real Madrid. Is he a 9?
Well, hold on. He's not a 9.
A 9 because he hasn't put one good performance in for me this season up front.
I do think there's
in the Champions League.
I do think there's different kinds of 9s, right? So the 9 he's playing at PSG, where it's almost like stay in between the 2 center backs, don't really drift out wide too much unless you really have to, like low touches on the ball, hold it up for us. That is definitely not his game. And I'm surprised now we're in May 2nd of 2024 and Enrique is still going on with that. That I agree with you. But I saw Mbappe in the World Cup for France play as a 9 at times when Giroud went off, and they would bring on Thuram and Kolo Muani, and it's like a fluid 3, which I think is a lot more similar to a potential system you would see at Madrid, or maybe he even plays as one of the 2 up front that Rodrigo and Vini are doing. I think give Mbappe the freedom to kind of run around the pitch. And you even saw last night, he had 2 devastating moments in a 90-minute game, which is poor for a player of his stature. But both those moments, he was
scored.
Okay, yeah, look, bro, you give him the ball in a certain position, he's a problem. But you have to give him chances. I often compare him to Haaland, right? And me, I'm a much bigger fan of Mbappe than Haaland because I do think that he can offer you more throughout a game just because of his skill set, his size, all that stuff. But he is still, just like Haaland, a player who requires service. This team gives him no service whatsoever. And that's not me making excuses for him because I can't criticize Haaland for one thing.
Ain't that the thing that Mbappe is meant to be, though? Like,
of course.
Mbappe,
of course.
Listen, I'm a big fan of Mbappe, but I got to play devil advocate here, right? And we got to discuss it. Like, ain't Mbappe meant to be? Now, listen, you can't do it every game. Isn't he meant to be that guy that's like, you don't have to give him that much service. He's going to create for you. He's going to open things up for you. He's going to take on 2-3, get down the byline, put one in for Dembele to tap it. Ain't that meant to be his thing? That's what we credit him for, being this more overall player. Like, but I see it more from Vinicius Jr. doing that.
So basically, what do we want to call it? Your producer, the boss. He just kind of gave us like a stat this season that Mbappe has created the most big chances in the Champions League and has 0 assists to show for it. And to give him credit, 0. Like I said, the 2 biggest moments he had yesterday is when he hit the post and when he kind of was surrounded by 4 players and had that little dink ball to, I think it was Dembele who missed a one-on-one, if you want to call it that.
And he hit the post, didn't it, right? You said, He hit the post.
Mbappe hit the post, when he was coming in off the left. So I get that, right? Like Mbappe, again, you give him space, you give him even like an inch, he'll take a mile. But it's still not his game for me, bro. Like he is not if you put him in dangerous positions, he can create, but...
When I say create, right, I'm not talking David Silva type.
Like Messi,
I'm not talking about Messi. I'm talking about with just the way he moves on the ball, it's going to open up things for others. Do you know what I mean? So even if it's a layoff, even if it's a whatever, That's what you expect Mbappe to be the live wire. You expect him to be the show.
True. And that's why I've been so disappointed with him, actually. Yeah,
you expect him to be the show. And listen, not writing him off. He's probably going to go Parc de France and do bits. You know what I mean? And probably he could probably go and win in the game. But you know what I'm saying? It's the semi-final of the Champions League. You look at these moments, not even moments. You look at these games where you're talking about Jadon Sancho, who didn't even have a goal or assist. And we're like, yeah, okay. You stood up.
Your impact.
You want that thing. We're going to talk about maybe Musiala in the next game. He kind of had that kind of moment. Jude Bellingham didn't. And people were like, oh, hold on. So I'm just saying, if we're going to be looking at Jude Bellingham, if we're going to be looking at this, we definitely have to look at the guy 100%. Who's universally seen as the best in the world. Because yesterday, he was anonymous.
No, and he was anonymous in the first leg against Barcelona too.
I don't think he's been good this Champions League campaign.
For me,
I'm surprised at that stat because I don't really think he's been that good this Champions League in the knockout round.
I don't disagree, and that's disappointing for me because again, this is a guy who I sing his praise all the time. I think he's the best player on the planet. I think when he's on it, there's not a more devastating player in world football. But that's also why we hold him to these standards, right? And it kind of go take your point because I have another point off that.
What I would say is in cup competitions, just take your moment. That's what I would say. We spent. Let's say the final 2 years of the three-peat, Cristiano. He wasn't out here dribbling from the left and right.
Ronaldo was 32, 33, 34 years old, right? Mbappe, if it was any other player than Mbappe, I would hear you. But
I've always been at that for cup football.
No, but this is the king of cup football, bro. This is the guy in the World Cup knockout competition over 2 tournaments has been ridiculous. Not just he picks his moments, but he's a ridiculous force of nature throughout 90 minutes. Every time he gets the ball, he's running at players. In the past for PSG, I've always said he's the guy that actually you can rely on to be devastating in these cup competitions.
The only reason I'm saying that is that, listen, of course you need to perform. 100%, I want you to perform. If you can perform on top of your performance, then, on top of your goal or whatever, great. But you can't not perform
and
not have any stat aside. It's as a big player in these type of moment. Because no one's going to care in cup football. If it's a 38-game league season, you need performances, bro. You can't keep relying on just, I'm going to pop up in this moment. But in cup football, how many games is it?
Like 11
games or whatever. Yeah. And then if Mbappe potentially has 2 more matches of this Champions League, if he drops a 5 out of 10 but scores 2 goals or 3 goals in them 2 games and lifts the Champions League, we're not talking about that performance because it's cup football. So I'm just saying he has to do one or the other. Or if you could put both together, wow, you're Lionel Messi,
I was going to say, because here's the flip side, right? If Mbappe goes to the final and loses, we're all talking about, he lost, and all tournament he was
very
mid.
true. It's result bias.
But even results bias. If Mbappe is still showing us who Mbappe is, and they get to the final, like in these games, if he's playing how we know Mbappe can play, and then they get to the final and they lose, I'm not doing that. I'm going to be like, you know what, bro? He carried them here. And at the end of the day, it's just lost. The fact that he doesn't have the performances right now, and to be fair, he's the top scorer in the Champions League, so we're acting like, he's not doing anything.
Kane, or is it?
It might, it's like level. So my point is, he's in those conversations. I'm not trying to say he hasn't been decisive, but look, maybe it's because I hold him to such high standards. No one gasses up Mbappe on Twitter in general more than me. So I'm going to hold him there. Otherwise, I'm being disingenuous here. But I expect more than what I've seen all tournament from him, bro. Yeah, honestly, bar Real Sociedad, where he was terrific against Barcelona. I don't think he was the best player for PSG. No. Last night he wasn't. And in the group stage as well, too. He picked his moments, but I'm not going to forget the fact he went to San Siro and didn't do anything. He went to, St. James's Park and didn't do anything. For me, this is not the Kylian Mbappe I know.
And the thing is, what I would say is that with Mbappe, I still think he's best when he's in transition, or he's best when the ball is coming to him on the move. So that's why the upfront thing is a little bit of a concern.
Weird, bro.
It's a little bit of concern for me. Do you know what I mean? There was a moment where he got the ball yesterday. The whole Dortmund team pretty much got back into shape. And it was just him on the ball. And he just had to literally turn back round and pass it to... And I was like, nah, you don't want Mbappe getting the ball there. Yeah. If he got that on the wing or something, he would have ran at them potentially. Do you know what I mean? So that's my only thing. I think Mbappe is probably the most dangerous player in world football when he's around the box, because you don't want to take him down for a penalty. His feet are ridiculously quick in the box, right? He shifts it so quick.
Yeah.
We saw it with the chance that he hit the post.
Yeah.
You want him in that position.
Bro, you want him running
You don't
at
want
you,
him-
bro. Like,
exactly.
it's so weird how Enrique has deployed him, bro. He's almost used him as like...
I'm not a big fan of
He's
Enrique,
used him as like
man.
a smaller Haaland, honestly. The way he's using him right now is like, okay, occupy the defenders, kind of distract them with your gravity, if you want to call it that, and let the other guys ball. But the difference is at City, okay, Haaland is making space for De Bruyne, for Foden, for Bernardo. You're asking Mbappe to basically occupy defenders for what? Barcola and Dembele.
Yeah.
This is your crown
Inconsistent
piece,
players.
bro.
Yeah.
For me, it's
That's the
bewildering.
thing. Maybe that's the indictment on Kolo Muani and Gonzalo Ramos.
I know a lot
What's
of
going on with them
PSG fans were really upset at Kolo Muani, and like, to be honest with you, he's had a really poor season. Yet he's always the one kind of being brought on instead of Gonzalo Ramos, who in Ligue 1 has. And look, me and you, we're not huge fans of Gonzalo Ramos, but I have to give him credit, bro. Every single time he's been playing for PSG recently, he's been delivering more than Kolo Muani, and this is like repeated times now where Kolo Muani is given kind of the go ahead. You change the game. And bro, if you saw the reaction on Twitter from French fans and PSG fans, they were killing him, bro. Killing him.
Yeah, he's not made the step up yet. I think he's still a decent player, but again, this is another one where people didn't watch too much of him, had an image of him, and then now.
But you know what it is about him, right? He's another one of those guys, and we talked about this numerous times, where he's not really an out-and-out 9. He's another one that you want to kind of play him throughout the front three, whereas in Gonzalo Ramos, the role that he wants Mbappe to play, that's probably, Gonzalo Ramos is probably the best profile in the entire squad to do that.
Agree. Yeah.
So yeah, I think PSG have a lot to figure out, man. Honestly, if I'm even thinking of like standout performers from yesterday, I thought Marquinhos was decent. Played this amazing pass into the box for Fabian Ruiz, but the rest of them, honestly, like it was a flat performance. And okay, they got chances through just sheer quality, but I think they're very lucky the fact that it's only 1-0 going back to France.
I was gonna say I don't know if Dortmund did enough. And listen, again, in the Champions League, you know, when you have a favourite and they're going back to their home and it's only a 1-goal lead, you tend to lean towards them. So I don't really know. I don't really have a preference of who goes through here. I just want whoever's going to make it the better Champions League final. Do you know what I mean? But I would say Dortmund might not have done enough.
I hear that, to be fair. Like PSG have shown you got to kill them.
Yeah.
Otherwise they'll come punish you. But this whole thing of like, oh, no one wants to see Dortmund in the Champions League final. I think everyone is thinking that. I don't know if that's true anymore, bro. I genuinely don't know
because it's against PSG.
No, I get that. And people have this preconceived notion about Dortmund. But are we really sure that PSG will give a better game to Madrid than Dortmund? Are we really positive about that? I'm not positive about that, bro.
Don't sleep on Bayern.
Yeah. So look, that's kind of the PSG Dortmund game. Everything to play for, obviously, in the second leg, as is the case in the other semifinal, which we'll quickly go over as well too. Bayern to Real Madrid 2, and I have to say, as a neutral, brilliant game of football.
Brilliant.
Honestly,
Both games
fascinating. Yesterday was more like in terms of like, wow, exciting. Like, but Tuesday for me was really the definition of elite level football. Tactically, the individual quality on show. I enjoyed that so much, bro.
I agree. I enjoyed that one because, again, I think it was one where Bayern Munich could have won that game. Like Leroy Sané had some opening opportunities.
Musiala, Kane.
Do you know what I mean? I think Bayern Munich, again, Thomas Tuchel showing why he's so good in Europe, nullified mainly most of Real Madrid's threats, and still actually done enough to kind of nearly win as I said, nearly go on and win it. So Bayern Munich are a team that all tournament, you know, people have kind of written them off because of the league season that they're having. You know, people saw Man United score 3 goals at the Allianz and thought, this Bayern team, yeah, right. You know what I mean? But again, they're here for a reason. And honestly, I know Madrid have the heritage and they are favourites. Same thing I just said about PSG going home. Real Madrid going to the Bernabeu in the semi-final. I mean, you would put your money on them. But don't be surprised if Bayern Munich gets something out of this.
It's true.
I would not be surprised, man. This is a well-drilled team in Europe. We saw them literally make Arsenal look like babies, bro. Do you know what I mean? Like, Arsenal barely laid a finger on them. They went against Real Madrid. Yeah, okay, got a penalty. Vini had his goal as well.
They should have won.
There we go. So I think Bayern Munich are well in this tie, bro.
100%. I say it till I die, man. As if you have Thomas Tuchel, you have a chance in Europe, bro. If you have Thomas Tuchel, you have a chance in Europe. He is the equalizer in all of this kind of stuff. And it's fascinating, honestly, how like different this team looks in Europe compared to how they do domestically in the league. It's a completely different side. And it's also fascinating too, like how Thomas Tuchel kind of adapts to each kind of matchup that he's faced. So against Arsenal, I think he understood that's a game where we're not going to have most of the ball. We're going to have to be in a deep, compact shape. We're going to have to nullify them out wide. This tie is just so different because Real Madrid, I always say, are a team that kind of like to suffer. They remind me of that Atletico Madrid team in terms of like, they don't mind going through phases of the game where they're being pelted by chances. They don't mind going through games having like 30% possession for a minute because they know that in key moments, their best players will kind of take the platform given to them and produce that moment of magic that, like you said, in the Champions League, that's what wins you those games, the decisive moments. And when it comes to decisive players in those moments, no one has more than Real Madrid, whether it's Kroos, who was so incredible on the night, bro. Just like rolled back the years. And it was so funny seeing kind of like the instant reaction from social media, like, wow, Kroos is really good at football. What? No, really? I didn't know that. And then Vinicius, who has for me kind of opened up this whole kettle of fish in terms of like who really is the best player in the world. Where does he kind of sit in this hierarchy of the Mbappes and the Haalands? Because I think we've kind of, the media and like us as fans have kind of painted it as like, oh, it's Mbappe versus Haaland for this new gen. But when you look at big Champions League moments, no one has more than Vinicius, bro.
Yeah. Vini is strangely, I don't know, maybe it depends on who you talk to, but Vini feels like he's a little bit slept on.
Definitely.
He feels that this whole, as you mentioned, Mbappe, Haaland, why? Vini is in that conversation. Vini can actually walk away and say, I'm the best. He could potentially say that. Now, internationally, he doesn't deliver, right? He's got big question marks internationally, which Mbappe does not have. But he is really present all the time in the Champions League as well. Mbappe is as well. But for me, those are the two. But if you're looking at the two best players in the world, I think that's 1 and 2. I think Vini needs to start getting his respect because on these Champions League nights, I think out of any player in Europe alongside Mbappe, you have to really think about and alter your defensive scheme for that player. Vini in transition is literally a demon, bro. Vini, you cannot give them any space because out of every player in Europe at the moment, I think he's the one that produces the most individual quality. I think when you look at where Real Madrid, you see the way Ancelotti sets up. Ancelotti sets up knowing I have Vinicius Jr. who's going to make something happen. I'm not going to do this system, this pattern, this da-da-da-da to open up space for this. It's no. Vini, what can you do for me? And often, how many players have that responsibility at their football team?
Not many.
We're talking about Fodens, we're talking about Musialas, we're talking about Mbappes and Haalands. They're all part of something. Vini, I'm not saying he's not part of a system, but Vini has the responsibility more than anyone else in Europe to make it happen by himself. And I think that deserves massive credit. We're already talking about like Jude Bellingham is his team. Really?
Let's get it twisted. I think that needs to die.
Really?
I think that narrative, and I think it's accentuated by the fact we live in England.
Yeah.
Jude Bellingham's, I don't want to call it PR because he's a brilliant player too, but like his name is loud this season and he's had an amazing season, rightfully so. But guys, this is Vinicius Jr.'s team. Yeah. Vinicius is the man on this team. I agree with you, right?
What is he missing? Individual. Listen. Let's list it. Eye test
passes it.
Stats
passes it.
Big moments
passes it. Flying colors.
Trophies
passes it.
What do we need? What else? So what else do we need to respect him on that level?
You know what it is, right? I think Vini kind of subconsciously is kind of hit by fans when it comes to this Mbappe Haaland debate because Mbappe and
numbers is there.
No, it's not that. It's not that. To be fair, he's starting to.
Certainly Mbappe has 43 goals.
No, but hold on.
He's not gonna get that.
In Europe, you look at Vinicius's numbers. I think first of all, he has the most knockout goals by Brazilian in Champions League history. And you look at in the knockout rounds since like 2020-21 or 21-22, I think he's scored in every single tie. Like he is. I'm gonna say it now, right? I'm about a game away from being ready to kind of pass the throne or pass the crown of Mr. Champions League, which I had initially anointed to Mbappe once Ronaldo left Europe. I looked at Mbappe in Europe and I said, you know what? You're taking the mantle from Ronaldo as Mr. Champions League. I'm about a game away, and that's going to be decided in this next Champions League semifinal second leg. I'm a game away from passing that mantle. Take it away from Mbappe and give it to Vini. Because when it comes to these big European ties, the Champions League semifinals, it's like the third year in a row now that he's delivering, bro. He is the guy in big moments for Real Madrid. And I was going to say, I think he's hurt by in this whole debate. Where does he sit with Haaland and Mbappe? I think he is disrespected, but I think it's because with Mbappe and Haaland, they were almost anointed from the beginning. We saw Mbappe as the kid. It's not PR. Mbappe was the kid wonder at Monaco. We saw him at the World Cup at 18 years old. We've seen him from the beginning from the beginning, we knew he was going to be great. Haaland, from the beginning at Salzburg to Dortmund to City, every step he's taken has been great. Vini wasn't great at the start at Real Madrid. He had to suffer. He had to be hit with the jokes. Don't pass it to him. Bro, he's gotten out of the mud to now get to where he is now. And I think that kind of like is hurt in terms of when we make this debate. Like, he's trying to catch up to them. I think he has caught up to them.
But it's no debate that he's caught up to them. Like, you can't watch football and think that he's not on their level. Like, it's bizarre. I know we're trying to find out new Cristiano and Messi. I've said a million times, let it go.
Yeah, you'll never find them. Not my lifetime.
Mbappe will never be as good as Ronaldo or Messi. Never. You can win 7 World Cups.
Yep.
You'll never be that level, in my opinion. Haaland and Messi, listen, they're never going to be them two. The thing that I want to give him massive respect for, right, Vini, is he's not leading a team that has Ronaldo, that has Benzema, that has peak Modric, Kroos, Casemiro, Varane, these guys that were part of that core of unreal Champions League dominance. He's running around with Camavinga, Tchouaméni, Valverde, Jude Bellingham, Rodrigo. These are young guys, and he's looking like the senior go-to. By the way, he's 23 years old.
Yeah.
He's making it happen with the new gen, the new era of Real Madrid. And he's making this transition seamless. Benzema, thank you for your services. Legend, Ballon d'Or, off to Saudi. Vini, I'm going to take it from here. And it was clear to see that was going to be the succession.
That's a good point, by the way.
That's what I rate.
Let's also, the fact that Vini has kind of adapted his game. First of all, he's improving every single year at this crazy rate. But let's not forget as well, too, that Vini is playing a role in a system that he never played before, and that if you ask him, probably isn't his favorite kind of role, bro. He's had to make do with, because Real Madrid failed in the window to sign a replacement or a direct replacement for Karim Benzema, and because their marquee signing was Jude Bellingham, and Ancelotti had to kind of shift the system for him. The two guys who suffered the most in terms of like the way they want to play were Vini and Rodrigo, and I have to give massive credit to both of them, but specifically Vini in this situation, because he's now at 23 years old having to kind of like accept that, look, I'm going to have to do what's best for the team while also still keeping up my productivity. And he's done it brilliantly, bro.
It's going to be so interesting to see next season. If Mbappe does go there, how does this all go?
But I think that's a great question, right? Because we've always asked, where does Vini fit in this team if Mbappe comes in? Let's stop asking that now.
That's not going to be a question.
Vini's place in this team is solidified.
Yeah.
It's how do the rest of the pieces adapt as well as Mbappe once he comes. Vini is the star of this team, bro.
Yeah.
Vini will be the one solidified.
Mbappe could come in and be the star.
Mbappe is not coming in and shifting Vinicius again. I promise you that.
I'm not saying he's going to shift Vinicius' position. Mbappe can come into the team and be the star. That's what.
No, that's not what I'm questioning. But I'm telling you, Vinicius' place and his position in this team is not. I remember there was a time where people were saying, "Well, why can't Vinicius play on the right?" No. Vinicius is playing there. I promise you that right now.
Nah, I 100% agree. But listen, let's get into what the debate was going on Twitter and all that type of stuff. Where do you sit on the Jamal Musiala and Jude Bellingham discussion?
I mean, we've had this conversation many times. There's no secret. Jamal Musiala is my favorite player in world football to watch. I think he restores the feeling. You want to talk about a player that restores the feeling for me? I watch him with a smile on my face. Everyone knows how much I used to love Eden Hazard. I get almost like flashbacks of him sometimes at times when he just picks up the ball at 3 players and just shift. He lowers his shoulder, shifts, gets out of it, and all of a sudden Bayern are 3v1, 3v2, 4v1. I love that kind of player. So I have my preference in terms of this debate, if you want to call it that. But one thing for sure is that the two of them are terrifically brilliant players that, let's be honest though, have had massively different media campaigns, right? The way Bellingham is talked about compared to Musiala, rightly or wrongly, is very, very different. Like if Musiala was, first of all, an England international doing it for a team that has much more media coverage than Bayern, brother, the way the media would be talking about Jamal Musiala would be crazy. Let's not forget what he did last season as a teenager for Bayern Munich. I think he was their top scorer in the Bundesliga, winning it on the final day. The media campaign would have been crazy for him. That's not to say that Bellingham doesn't deserve all the plaudits and the flowers that he's gotten this year. He is a Ballon d'Or contender, in my opinion. And what he's done for Real Madrid at his age in his debut campaign is ridiculous and one of the craziest feats I've ever seen. Also, the numbers he's put up for a midfielder, ridiculous. But, and we talked about this a little, I do feel like he's kind of being hurt by how much the media has propped him up now. Because now we're expecting Jude Bellingham to basically score 2 goals or have a goal and assist every single game, or else we can't rate his performances. Guys, it's not as simple as that. Football is not as black and white as that.
The thing is, I think Jude has the personality, has the character to embrace all of that. As much as the people are talking, I don't think it's going to phase Jude Bellingham too much. You know what I mean? We all thought, how's he going to do if he goes to Real Madrid? He's passed that by flying colours. One thing I would say is, as you mentioned, I think the goals, I'm so happy that Jude is scoring goals. Of course, he's English and just his come up. How can you not respect Jude Bellingham? The problem is, I think these goals that he's scoring, as you mentioned, is making people, if he doesn't score, it's going to harm him. Not harm, but it's going to...
Because we expect goals from him. Yeah.
Like, as much... The goals are as much as a blessing, they're a curse as well. Yeah. Because Jude Bellingham at Dortmund was not a goal scorer. Yeah. He was all-action 8, final third. He can pop up in there. He's got the quick feet in and around. He can score a goal, of course. He can get an assist. He can impact a game. I still think that's where Jude Bellingham is going to end up as a number 8. I think he's doing the job right now because they have Hosselu and they don't have a striker. He's having to do that job right now. But I still think he's going to end up as an 8. I think there's too much extreme views on Jude Bellingham. It's either he's trash or he's godly. Best in the world, yeah. I think there needs to be a little bit of a middle ground. I think people are keen to try and put him as this kind of poacher. He's having to do something which he's been told to do. Ancelotti's paying him there for a reason. It's not like Jude Bellingham is literally playing in the 8 and then man can't move away from up top. Then he'll be like, brother, get in position. You're vacating zones. Why do we never say that the zones are vacated? Because they're literally designed for Jude Bellingham to be in them positions. So right now he's doing what he's required to do. I just don't like how people are going on as if this guy's not a good footballer. He can't do much. He's just this, he's just that. I don't agree with that. Jude Bellingham for me is still a great player and he's going to only excel. He's 20. 20.
For Real Madrid, I think that's equally as important, bro. 20 at Real Madrid, what he's doing. Bro, I've seen players with bigger names or bigger reputations than Jude Bellingham come to Real Madrid in their first season, second season, drown. This season, he has unironically made the Bernabeu his playground, bro. Like, what he's done this season, it's one of the greatest debut campaigns I can remember. But I saw this amazing tweet over the week through Champions League, and it was basically like, it was around Jude Bellingham because, like you said, the conversation around him is just so extreme on one end to the other. But like, it's a habit now where like every single thing has to be magnified as either the greatest thing we're ever seeing, or if it doesn't live up to that, wow, this guy sucks. Yeah. Like I saw it with Kim Min-jae. Didn't have the best performance against Real Madrid. Why the hell would Bayern buy this guy? He's crap. He was playing in Turkey 2 years ago. Jude Bellingham. Another game in Europe where he kind of didn't score or assist. And he was kind of on the periphery. So overrated. Mbappe the other day. This might be the worst Ballon d'Or winner, the worst best player in the world I've ever seen. Yeah. Or when a player balls out, the Sancho example if you want. Wow, we've never seen this from Jadon. Like, I just feel like sometimes we have to kind of just take a step or two backwards and just appreciate that. We're watching sport, guys. We're not watching like a film. Like these guys are humans. These guys are going to have great performances. They're going to have poor performances. Where's the level-headed just kind of appreciation for what we're watching? And it never used to be like this, bro. Like maybe with Ronaldo and Messi, because they reached the standard so high, that's all we can look at. But guys, Rooney had poor games. Yeah. Zlatan had poor games. David Villa had poor games. Yeah. Expecting these guys to just be all-timer levels every single time they step on the pitch is unrealistic. And it's going to make you guys... it's every game we're watching now. If it's not the best we're ever seeing, disregard it.
Why is it every time that you do examples, you say David Villa?
I don't know. That's such a weird one. I used David Villa for 20 goals the other day.
Why are you always using David Villa?
David Villa was cold though.
Yeah, no, of course, but
I don't know why he's there's better players than David Villa. Like maybe I should start saying Kaká or something like that.
Man always just says David Villa. I'm like, bro, what? Anyway, what I would say.
I said David Villa last week for 20 goals. That's funny.
Look, listen, it's the extreme, it's the fact that you're watching foreign leagues and stuff. And look, the difference with Jude and Musiala, obviously Musiala's like kind of got that more technical cleanness in terms of when you see him dribbling and stuff on the ball. Obviously people can gravitate towards that. People talk about the PR aspect of it. The reason this comes, like, let's not act like Mbappe doesn't have PR.
True.
Mbappe embraces the media. That's why. Thingy embraces the media. Jude Bellingham. Cristiano embraced it. Messi didn't. Messi, his fan base pushed everything a lot of time, but he didn't really go to the media. Yeah. There's some people that are faces of the media, faces of their brands. Let's not forget. Jude is massively pushed by Adidas, right? Mbappe is massively pushed by Nike. Yeah. That is the reality. It's the same thing in basketball, in any sport. You have the faces of brands. And that's what Paul Pogba, we always hearing about him. Why? Because he was also one of the faces of Adidas. So this is just the reality. When you're attached to brands as well, you're going to get pushed. You're going to be marketed. You're going to be on GQ. You're going to be on Vogue. You're going to be doing all this type of stuff. Musiala doesn't do none of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Just hoops.
he just hoops. Yeah, I'm trying to say it's the same thing. Look, when everyone talks about this Lampard, Gerrard, Scholes debates and stuff, Gerrard was the captain. Every single week he's speaking to the media. You're seeing his face. You didn't see Scholes. Just got in his car and went home. All right, played game, didn't score. Didn't hear from him. Gerrard, you hear from him. Oh, tough game, and great game. True. Lampard, same thing. Always remember, if John Terry didn't do it, it was Lamps. So you always would see these guys, and they're the reason why you always hear about them more. It's just the way it is. I mean, I think also PR is just starting to be mentioned all the time. Look, we're in England. We have to remember that.
Yeah. We
are going to get more Jude Bellingham. BT Sport, or TNT, it's called now, are going to bring Jude to have a chat. Musiala, he has got English trait. He has got English in him, but he chose Germany, so he's now distanced himself away from England. So at TNT are going to bring Jude at the end of the game, whether he dropped a 1 out of 10 or not. They're gonna speak to him. Jude, what do you think?
His personality as well too. Jude is an outgoing guy. Jude is very confident in his responses. Jude is very mature, bro. Like his answers, they're almost like perfect, bro. It's like almost like it's almost a cyborg. Like how perfect his answers are. He's an amazing. Like he is just like he oozes confidence and stuff like that.
When Musiala gave his speech to Jude, to at the Golden Boy, it was a bit awkward, bro.
Yeah, Musiala.
Hey, Jude.
Yeah, Musiala is a bit. He's a bit more quiet. He does let his football do the speaking more.
Yeah.
But also, let's not forget the fact that Musiala plays for Bayern.
Yeah.
Jude Bellingham plays for Real Madrid. That matters, bro. Like let's not pretend it doesn't.
This and that.
Yeah.
I don't even know what Musiala celebration looks like. Bro, you know what I mean? When you're doing this and in front of the Bernabeu and the whole world, you're saying Bolt is out here doing this.
It's true.
It's just a natural thing, but that's the thing about what I hate about not English media, but I would say about English media. Again, just like how we spoke about his goals are a blessing and a curse. This prop is a blessing and a curse, because the higher you go up, what do they say?
Yeah, the higher you go, the harder you fall.
Exactly.
That's true, and it's. So I'm just looking to, I'm observing, right? Because I like Bellingham. I like the personality. I like the player, and it's not his fault now that all of a sudden he is becoming like the face of football. But the thing that took me really like, okay, this kid might be in trouble, is when I saw this week 77% of England fans believe Jude Bellingham is the most important player. If England don't do it in the Euros, he's going to be the scapegoat. He's going to be the face of either success or of failure. And that's a lot to expect from a 20-year-old that, let's be real, is just getting started, bro. Like, this isn't the best version of Jude Bellingham we're going to see. He is a human.
And I want to touch on that, what you just said there. That's not the best version of him. People have already got their mindset about him, whether they think he's the greatest or whether they think he's bad, whatever. Jude has showed, wherever he gets played, he will perform into that position. Nobody expected this from Jude in that position. So when people are turning around and now saying, oh, he's a poacher, did you think that of him last season, that he was a poacher? No. You're only thinking that now because he's been given a role and he's executed it. Last season, he got to Real Madrid for a reason, because he was playing in the 8. I don't think that suits his profile, but if Jude was to get put in a 6, I think he'll probably be a competent 6. He's just them type of players that understands the game and understands how to play football. Not saying he'll be a Rodri level 6, but I'm just saying he's someone that I think you can put him in positions and he'll be able to do it. So when people think this is just now all of a sudden Jude's a poacher, all right, let's see.
For me, it's the same thing as Cole Palmer. Like, just one final point. Like, Cole Palmer next year, I don't expect to put up the same numbers. I hope guys don't just start criticizing Cole Palmer because he doesn't put up 20 next season.
It's going to be a blessing.
But he's not a goal scoring kind of player, bro. Like, he's putting up great goals, but what, he has to score 20 goals every year because that's the standard he put. Come on, guys, let's be real. Yeah, this is the thing. And look, as I keep saying, I said it before. Frank Lampard's the only player that I've seen from start to finish, and even then, even at West Ham, he scored a few goals. But let's say from Chelsea, from start to finish, just be an output machine midfielder. Every midfielder has to reinvent their game eventually. You know what I mean? Or have to show different sides of it. Lampard's the only one that's done it his whole career. We've seen so many. Bruno's didn't even keep going, like his stats. His goals. It dried up. Dele Alli. It will probably happen to Bellingham, but what they're going to have to do is reinvent himself and make himself more of a complete player, which I think he's got to do. Look at his attributes. There's no way this guy is built for just, let me sniff him out. No, come on, man. Come on, what you think, bro. He's Duncan Ferguson. You know what I mean? This is crazy. This is crazy. So listen, great tie though, and I think that one is open, and I'm happy we get to see young players like Musiala shine on these type of stages. This is
This is what you want to see.
Of course, bro.
This
Of
is
course.
what you want to see.
No, the Champions League, I said it before a ball was even kicked in the semifinals. Now that I don't have to worry about the English teams winning it, I'm just here on appreciation,
Yes.
honestly. I just want to see the best players in the world do their thing because this is the Champions League.
Mm.
And not everyone delivered. I'm still, like I said, second leg, Mbappe and Jude. I rate both of you guys. I expect and I demand better. And I
Kane's
think,
going to need a better away performance.
yeah, and
as well.
I expect and I demand it. And I also believe they will give me better. But
I like Kane's new penalty taking technique.
it's a bit like what, like, you know, like Messi kind of changed it a little bit too, right? Like, I'm not saying Kane already his penalties were unstoppable,
Yeah,
right? If he hits it right, no one's saving it. But I like the fact that, like, yeah, he's got a
little thing, innit?
yeah, bro, 100%. But
Come on, Harry.
I have to give massive shout out to Musiala. I have to give a massive shout out to Sancho, of course, too. Vinicius. This is what we come to this tournament for, to see, and it's great too that these are all young players. We're going to be seeing them for the next 5, 6, 7 years too. So
who's the player of the
more of the
round?
same.
Who's the player of the halftime? Halftime player.
Sancho for me. I think
Sancho.
I think Sancho for me was the best. Was the standout player.
I'm gonna go Leroy Sané.
Oh, good one.
I'm gonna go Leroy Sané, which we didn't even really speak about, but his performance, quality never dies, man. Quality never dies. This guy's a top player, man.
Yeah.
I can't believe Leroy Sané is 28, 29.
Yeah, it's weird, huh?
time
He
is-
feels like because he's been around forever.
I remember him winning the Young Player of the Year.
I remember Schalke scoring against Real
Wow.
Madrid.
Yeah, like what a player, man. Honestly, that explosion, that directness that he plays with. This guy's playing with a slipped hip disc or something like that. You know, he doesn't even go in at half time. Did you know that?
Crazy.
He doesn't go in at half time because he has to stay moving. So when the whole team are doing their team talk, Sane's
I
jogging.
did actually notice that they showed him that.
Sane's jogging around on the
that
pitch.
mentality is crazy. Bro.
And then he goes and scores that goal, and he's playing like that. Come on, man.
Sane, you're a warrior, bro.
He's a soldier, bruv.
But me, Jadon Sancho for me, the player of the round, like the standout of the round. I just think like for him to come back, obviously we know what's happened the last 2 seasons, what happened the first 6 months, but to come back to Dortmund and put on this kind of performance in the first leg of a Champions League semifinal when the whole world is watching and remind the world that this is who you are, I think he just deserves so much credit. So for me to stand out. What about the flop for you?
Ooh.
I got one. Kim Min Jae for
Oh.
me. Kim Min Jae is the flop of the round. Look, and this isn't me writing him off because I actually think Kim is a great player. And if he becomes available next summer, if they decide to stick with this dire Delict thing, I would take Kim Min Jae at United. But I just think this was a performance to forget, bro. Honestly, like it was too aggressive. It looked like he hadn't played for a minute.
Yeah.
And for this kind of performance where you'd want to like step in and remind your coach that, okay, start me the next round. I don't think he did it. And I think Tuchel's words were kind of damning about him as well too.
Yeah, I'd have to agree.
Yeah.
I feel sorry for him though, but I'd have to agree. And I agree with Tuchel's comments as well. I don't think it was too harsh personally. People are saying it was too harsh. I do not think so.
Anyone else? I think Mbappe as well too, bro.
Yeah, no, but I wouldn't. Yeah, maybe.
Hey, the best player in the world demands best player in the world treatment.
That's true.
Please rise. Anyways, guys, let us know in the comment section below who's been your
Jude
standout.
got hooked, actually. Jude got
You got
hooked.
Jude hooked.
Ooh, anyway.
I'm going Mbappe.
Yo,
Mbappe or Kim.
England, Britannia, we stand with you, mate.
But yeah, guys, let us know in the comment section below who's been your standout, who has been your flop of halftime in the Champions League. Let us know down below. Of course, massive thanks to BR for always powering this podcast, putting out all our clips on all their different stuff. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. We will be back next week, hopefully. Oh, I definitely covering. We'll know what the Champions League final is. And let us know as well, too, who you guys believe will be playing in the Champions League final this year at Wembley. With that being said, it's myself, Lyés, my boy, CultureCams.
RBR send us to Wembley, by the way.
I'm about to make some boss calls. Production, let us know. Cut us some checks, man. But yo, like always, we'll see you next week.
Peace.
Peace.